So, we have some new things coming to Warhammer 2 with this upcoming FLC drop. In today's video, we will cover the legendary Lord Thorek, the new rune mechanics, the Ogre Mercenaries, and the big auto-resolve changes. I will not be covering the Beastman rework or Toroks until tomorrow's video. First up, we have the introduction of the new legendary Dwarf Lord Thorek. Here you can see his faction effects, reducing Oath Gold costs for crafting ruins, increased Oath Gold income from buildings, he gets a +5 recruit rank for Rune Smiths, and upkeep for Rune Smiths are reduced. As for his Lord effects, his armies get an extra 3 armor-piercing weapon damage, 10 extra armor, and reload time reduction for bolt throwers, grudge throwers, and quarrelers. Thorek is a Rune Smith legendary lord, so he will get access to the runes in his skill tree. He has some pretty strong buffing skills, traits, and armor buffs. The first being Thorek's Rune Armor. This armor buff gives an extra 15 armor and 10% flame resistance to all allies within 40 meters, and this is a constant buff. He does get the Rune of Hearth and Home, making all allies around him immune to psychology, also a constant buff. Forge Fire is another constant buff that debuffs all enemies around him, reducing their armor by 15. One thing unique to Thorek is Locus of Power. Whenever an enemy caster is within range, they will suffer a minor miscast explosion whenever casting any spells. This will be good for those magic-heavy factions. Now we'll look at the slightly new rune mechanics. Runes are now basically their own school of magic with a unique casting mechanic. Now you can only cast one rune at a time, and you'll see that when we cast the rune, there's a global cooldown that appears on the magic tab, showing the amount of time we have to wait until we can cast our next rune. This will mean that we will have to be more strategic on what runes we cast, and we can't just cast all of them at the same time anymore. Now we can get into all of the rune abilities Thorek gets access to. Rune of Negation probably being one of the strongest, giving a 40% damage resistance buff to all allies within 100 meters. Rune of Oath and Steel being the same, giving 30 armor. Rune of Wrath and Ruin has been changed. It is now a fiery explosion spell that is targeted on the ground instead of targeting an enemy. Rune of Breaking giving extra armor piercing damage and base weapon damage, while also giving your allies sunder armor. Then we have the Rune of Speed giving a huge 24 melee attack and some extra speed. Lastly, we have the Rune of Slowness, handy for slowing down flanking cabs so you can catch them. You can see that we are able to overcast ruins. There is no downside to overcasting, so you should pretty much overcast all of your ruins if you can. And you can see that when we used the rune, there is the global cooldown shown for the rune spells. With this FLC, we will now get access to the Ogre Mercenaries, our first introduction to the Ogre Kingdoms. These are recruitable by every single faction in the game, so we'll get to see some factions round out their rosters by adding in some Ogre Mercenaries into their compositions. Every now and then you'll get a message about an Ogre Mercenary camp that has appeared on the map, looking like this. All you need to do is bring your army near the camp to bring up the Ogre Mercenaries prompt. You would then have the option of adding some Ogre units into your recruitment pool. As you can see, there are different types of Ogre Mercenary units, and we'll cover this in a later video. When you select an option, this does not automatically add them into your armies, it adds them into your recruitment pool, where you can recruit them like normal units. You should know that the AI can actually recruit these as well, but don't worry, they shouldn't be spamming armies of them. You'll occasionally just see sprinkles of them in the AI armies. Lastly, we'll get into the big auto-resolve changes. No longer will we see the bar showing us the odds of the outcome of the battle. There will be no more guessing. Now for the auto-resolve, we will see what kind of victory we will get and how many casualties we will take. Another added bonus, if we were to take medium to high casualties, the auto-resolve mechanism will show us exactly which units will more than likely get wiped out. This allows us to know more on the outcome of our auto-resolves, and it will be less likely we get screwed over from time to time. That's all we have for today's video. If you are wanting access to this FLC, all you need to do is sign up for the Total War Access, as these are Total War Access exclusives. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already.